Remember, when the sun rises, the antidote to blue light is red light.
Yeah.
What's the most dominant part of red light, invisible light? 43% is infrared A. So the main difference between, say, modern artificial light is that it has no red light in it. This is the reason why I'm such a big detractor of people in the WHO and the World Economic Forum, because they've sold everybody in Europe and everywhere else in the rest of the world that incandescent bulbs are no good. Realize that incandescent bulbs had red light in them, also had purple light in them.
All right, Uncle Jack, welcome back.
All right, we're back. December.
Yeah.
It looks like summer where you are.
Oh, yeah, well, it is. If you want to know the truth, 9 o'clock in the morning, no clouds, beautiful, excellent. We had a big day in El Salvador yesterday. We got to show the world brand new decentralized computer, first computer ever that is anabolic for your brain. Build your brain back. I released a Patreon blog about it this morning. People will get to see it. Emits no blue light at all.
Wow.
And the president of El Salvador got to see the prototype yesterday. And we're beginning to sell that this morning.
Wow.
To my members through Patreon.
What was that
again?
again?
Amazing.
Was that the facility?
What do you mean? What facility?
No, I just told Jacob about your new clinic. I guess that's what you meant, right?
Yeah,
it looked like from your Instagram that you got a new clinic, right? It looks amazing.
Yeah, that's where we are here right now.
Wow.
Okay, so how
in the back?
Wow. Okay.
See?
Yeah, that's something else.
It's the volcanoes back that way over there.
Wow.
That way over there, that's Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, let's have a little tour.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all the windows everywhere.
Yeah, we have no doors here. You can see there's nothing.
No doors?
We are outside, inside. No doors. If you look, that is the door there. If you look at it, that's glass.
Oh, Christmas tree.
Got the Christmas tree out there.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And you can open everything. This is the pathway down to get in, to put some new artwork and all that stuff.
Nice.
And over here, this is the front entrance where you come in. We have big bamboo trees here like that.
Beautiful.
The front teak. That's the Pacific Ocean right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is something special.
Okay.
And then you had the red lights indoor everywhere, right? So you had installed the red lights on top. Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
Nice.
Everything's red light. Chantal, somebody's here. No.
Yeah. Don't you miss a little snow from time to time?
What's that?
Don't you miss a little snow from time to time?
Yeah, I can get the snow. We have polar plunge here.
You do?
We can bring the snow. We don't have any problem. I can also be on a flight to go to the snow very easy here.
Yeah.
It's not a long thing. The problem is for you guys to come here, you have a lot longer flight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long flight. That's a 15-hour flight or something.
Yeah, on the other side of the planet.
Yeah, but it looks amazing. I mean, right now it's 4 o'clock here and you can see.
Completely dark.
I will tell you, it's a beautiful place.
It looks that way.
Yeah.
So Jack, the schedule for today is to kind of continue where we left last time. We want to dig a bit deeper into the mitochondria, or into the role of the mitochondria in the human body. We want to talk a bit about diet, grounding technology. We want to talk a bit more about UV light, infrared light, all that stuff. So let's start at the baseline, from where it all begins and where it all ends, at the mitochondria. Can you briefly explain the role of the mitochondria in the human body and how we can enhance its function?
Yeah, I mean, the number one key factor is it is where energy transformation happens from the sun to your cells. So think of it like a transformer. Yeah. Remember from the first law of thermodynamics, energy cannot be created or destroyed. So that means everybody in biology should be looking for the energy transformer, and it turns out the energy transformer is the mitochondria. What is the key output for mitochondria? I think most people know this, that the exhaust fumes of the mitochondria are predominantly CO2 and water. Those are the waste products, or what are the substrates of photosynthesis. So what is mitochondria effectively redoing? They're reversing the process of photosynthesis. Okay, and that's how food gets transformed, because food is ultimately all from photosynthetic webs. So that means that food functionally is an electromagnetic barcode that's functionally different than what you think, in the nutrition world. Why you think about carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, I don't think about that at all. I think about protons and electrons, and what is the input to mitochondria? It's called electron chain transport. There is no carbohydrate, fat, or protein input. It's all electrons and protons. And through the breakdown of those electrons and protons, mitochondria figure out how to run the physiology of your cell. That's the big black magic box that, you need to figure out when you're a quantum biologist.
Yeah.
Now, what is one of the, how shall we say, collateral benefits of mitochondrial metabolism? Probably the big one that you don't know about, but it's really important, is it actually makes a quantized amount of melatonin. Most of the melatonin in your body isn't made in your gut or the pineal gland. It's actually made in your colony of mitochondria. It turns out that colony of mitochondria is actually what controls apoptosis in your body. Okay. The second thing that from mitochondrial metabolism, what else do we make? We make biophotons. That's the story that I told you from the other guy from Scandinavia, which is Roland Van Wyck, where from the work for Fritz Popp, he found that every single living thing, when he put it in a photomultiplier, emits biophotons. You guys probably remember when I talked to Huberman earlier this year, I talked about the endogenous light production. Since you two guys are Vikings, I said cold is how you make sun that's not present where you guys live. That's the reason why I want you to embrace the cold to do that. So what did I just tell you? That temperature changes and light changes can control the biophoton spectra that your mitochondria make. So you can change the story of your life. This is why you can live at high latitude, that you don't have to run all the way down here to the 13th latitude. Is it much easier to run your program with sunlight than cold? The answer is it is. So there's a benefit. When you have an uncoupled haplotype, which you two have and I have, we can use both the sun and we can use cold. The consequence of that is, when we say coupled versus uncoupled, let's parse that out for the audience to understand. It means that we eat more food as people who are uncoupled so that we can make heat, so we can live in cold temperatures. People who are tightly coupled, those are L0, 1, 2, and 3. Those are people that live in equatorial Africa. They tend to have dark skin. These people win all their races all over the world. Nobody from Northern European countries can beat them. That is a consequence of their mitochondrial haplotype. The problem is, if you put those people from Nairobi in your country, you would destroy them. They would not be as optimized over a long period of time. They may come and win a marathon in your country, but they're not going to do well long time in a cold environment, because their mitochondrial thermodynamics are not set for that type of environment. So in other words, all the exhaust and all the biophoton spectra that's created, they would struggle at that latitude for a long period of time. So that's basically an overview of kind of what a mitochondria does. It's really a pretty amazing hydrogen heat engine that creates light. It creates the show that drives all biochemistry in your body. It reverses photosynthesis. It makes melatonin. It is the source code of your life force.
We'll get back to the conversation in a moment, but first I need to tell you about our sponsor, Bahé. Bahe have created the world's first running shoe which allows you to be grounded when going barefoot isn't practical. And as you all know, I'm a major advocate of the benefits that nature can bring us, and I ground myself daily to decrease inflammation and maximize my longevity. And they look much nicer than a regular sports shoe. So head over to bahe.co to check them out. You can use the code HOLISTIC10 to get 10% off your first order.
But what about the electromagnetic radiation then? How does that come into the picture? I guess it kind of interferes with the process of our mitochondria, right?
Well, yeah, but I want you to take it back a little bit further. Realize that the EMF that your mitochondria is optimized for is called sunlight. People forget that sun is part of the electromagnetic spectrum. It's the visible part of the spectrum. So that's kind of the issue. Now, non-native EMF that's outside of that one part of the visual spectrum causes a change in calcium efflux in the mitochondria. That change in calcium efflux changes the quantization of ROS and RNS made. So in other words, that's what changes the spectrum that's possible that's made from your mitochondria. So what is the overall blueprint that non-native EMF causes to your mitochondria? It's pretty simple. It causes hypoxia. What is the issue with hypoxia? Realize that the terminal electron acceptor for all mitochondria is oxygen. So if non-native EMF functionally lowers oxygen biology, that means it has a huge effect on ROS, right? But it also has a big effect on the cytochrome proteins that are present. What's the big effect when you have a relative pseudohypoxia from non-native EMF? NAD positive coupling, which is cytochrome 1, decreases. What do we know from David Sinclair's work? He wrote a paper in Cell and Metabolism in 2013. We know that NAD positive, when it doesn't recycle, mimics aging. So that means chronic hypoxia ages you faster. So tech abuse leads to aging quicker. So I told you guys before we started talking that we just released down here in El Salvador to the president a new computer that emits no blue light at all. What does that mean functionally for, the leptin melanocortin pathway through our eyes? When you read my blogs now, you no longer have to use an iPad or Microsoft or Apple. That is a catabolic computer. Why? That breaks down the electrons and protons in the mitochondria in the eye. This computer rebuilds them. Okay.
How does that work?
Because, well, that's a longer story, but the computer basically has some new innovations in it where we took all the blue light out. It also has no flicker. So this is completely free. So technically, when you now read the blogs, or eventually when this becomes a phone and becomes like a TV, you'll be able to watch technology and use technology without blue light destroying you and making your eyes hypoxic. So this is a huge, huge step forward. And you guys know that a lot of people out in Twitter land and in Europe think that Jack is, anti-technology. And it turns out, look, Jack's involved with a computer maker. This is the first computer ever made in the last 12 years that has ever come to the world stage. The last computer prior to this one was Oculus in 2012. So this is a brand new computer. Obviously, it's generation 1.0, but it's a huge step forward. So one of the big problems that we see in the United States with non-native EMF, and I'm sure you guys see it in Europe as well, is we call it digital babysitting. When new parents give their kids an iPad and then that shuts the kid up from screaming and this and that. Well, now you'll be able to give a child a tablet and they'll be able to use it and they won't have all the risks associated. Because remember, child brains don't have full myelination, so they're much more sensitive to non-native EMF. So this is another way for you to protect, their mitochondria from, hypoxic damage, from catabolic destruction, and this is a really, really important step forward, in the evolution of technology, where humans not only realize they're addicted to technology, but now they have an availability to use technology, and screen time won't be so destructive to our health. And obviously, I've got other tricks in my bag that we're using with these guys designing things. So let's just say this was a good time for you guys to talk to me about this.
For sure.
Big things happening in El Salvador, my friend.
But is it still just to the computer thing?
Yeah, it's fine.
Is it still functioning the same way as a laptop or
Exactly
something, or is it like
right.
a VR?
Yeah. So it looks just like an iPad, and it's eventually going to be a laptop. But we think iteration 2.0 will probably be a phone. That's probably be the next thing we do, where you'll have a phone that replaces everything. And I think when you guys, like if you go to my Patreon site today, December 4th, I released the video where you can actually see this thing. I actually had it in the pool right behind me yesterday, where you can actually read it in the sun. You can read this computer in the sun, direct sunlight.
Nice.
It is unbelievable technology.
I'm gonna give that to my daughter someday for sure. When do you expect to launch it?
Oh, it's already launched. You can pre-buy it.
Yeah.
Via their website. That's right. You have to be a Cruse member, but the website is called daylightcomputing.com, and you have to use all capitals Cruse 2023 as the password. You can order the laptop, I should say the tablet, and it should be there in March or April of this year. We already have 10,000 units ready to ship. I was the first one that bought it. In fact, I even put a tweet out yesterday to show people my order.
Wow.
Nice. Amazing.
I'm planning to get it to everybody in my family. And I mean, the big benefit here in El Salvador is that when we have decentralized doctors, we have to protect their eyes so they can take care of the public. And
for sure,
right now, doctor depression, burnout, and suicide is a big deal.
Yeah.
So I want to retool every single computer in El Salvador that physicians use to save their lives, so that way they can be better doctors to take care of your life.
Okay.
That's a good.
Maybe you should explain to the audience what hypoxia is, because I guess there's a lot of people who don't know what that particular is.
That's hypoxia, strangulation. Okay, you don't have as much oxygen as you need, or when people hang you from a tree, or when they cut off your oxygen flow. Remember, humans are idealized around an atmosphere that has 21% oxygen. So if the atmosphere, say where you guys live and you like to ski, is, I don't know, let's say 20,000 feet, the oxygen there is only 16%. That is hypoxia. When you live at high latitude, you get a transient hypoxia. When someone takes your oxygen away, that is hypoxia. It turns out most people don't realize that non-native EMF, which is non-sunlight EMF, causes hypoxia. So if you think about sitting next to, I don't know, let's say a server farm in California that Google runs, just saying you live there, you would be creating a relative hypoxic event for the colony of mitochondria inside of you. So this is the reason why we don't want you to live there. In Europe, the idea I would give you, this is the reason why if you live where you guys are and you live next to one of those big wind turbines, you're going to get sicker faster and die sooner. Why? Because those wind turbines, they do the same thing. They make you hypoxic.
Whoa. So is that kind of similar to EMFs?
No, it's not kind of similar. It is exactly the same. The amount of electromagnetic pollution that come off of those wind turbines is off the charts. And this is the reason why those in the World Economic Forum need to die. Okay?
Wow.
We need to get rid of their ideas in and around alternative fuel sources are horrendous for our population. It doesn't mean that I'm a big proponent that everybody should use gas and hydrocarbons, but hydrocarbons still to this day are the best fuel source to run our civilization. The things that people are trying to do, like the next best generation, in my view, is also decidedly anti-European, but it's nuclear. Nuclear is the single second best choice. But this nonsense with wind and solar energy, if you saw the amount of electromagnetic pollution that comes off a wind turbine or a photovoltaic that you use for solar power, you would never stay next to this stuff. This stuff is completely toxic for your mitochondria.
I had no idea about that.
Me neither.
Zero.
But it's...
Well, guess what? Here's the book. Here's the book that I want you guys to read. Next time we do a podcast, it's going to be required for you. It's a gentleman named Andrew Marino. He's both a biophysicist and a lawyer in the United States. He's actually testified in Congress. He wrote a book called Going Somewhere. This book, absolutely everybody in your audience, everybody in Europe should read this book. Once you read it, then I think we come back and do a podcast there and you're going to go, why didn't we know this stuff? And I'm going to tell you the reason why they don't tell you. They are trying to control you. Remember, we talked about that last time.
Yeah.
That centralized systems are trying to control human behavior, and they want you to believe that everything that is hydrocarbon, anything that makes CO2 is bad. It turns out when humans evolved from other primates, do you know that the CO2 levels in the atmosphere were higher than they are today by multiple fold? So I want you to think about that. Without the CO2 in the environment, we don't even get here. And these guys want to cut it lower. Do you know what happens when you cut CO2 lower? Based on the story that I just told both of you about mitochondria, destroys photosynthesis. Because remember, what's the fuel source for photosynthesis? CO2.
Yeah.
And 420, 450 parts per million on an evolutionary scale is nothing.
Yeah.
We used to be at 2,000 parts of CO2. We have now at some of the lowest levels. In fact, I can make the case thermodynamically, you guys should be going outside right now and cutting trees down and burning it to put more CO2 back into the environment. That's really what we need.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
We'll take a quick break to acknowledge one of our sponsors, Nordic Kings. I've been taking Nordic Kings products for more than 2 years now in everything from their bone marrow to their beef liver pills. And this is to spike my micronutrient profile without having to take any synthetic multivitamin pills, because I don't like the taste of organs. So this solution provides me with the exact same nutrients that I can get from the organs without having to eat them. And they're of course made from the highest quality organic grass-fed and free-range cows. And this is exactly why I've chosen to partner up with Nordic Kings for so many years now, because I prefer quality over quantity and always nature first. You can save 15% off your next order by heading over to nordickings.se/en and use the code HOLISTIC15.
I want to ask about the blue light thing, because of course I protect my eyes at night, and I of course when the sun sets I want to shield my eyes from not getting blue light. But what is the main difference from artificial blue light to natural blue light? Do we have to protect ourselves during the day if we sit in front of a computer?
Well, I just solved that problem with you with the new computer.
Exactly.
The new computer emits no blue light.
Yeah.
In fact, you don't even have to use blue blocking glasses with this computer. Just think about how revolutionary this is.
Yeah,
that's
okay?
amazing.
To answer your question, remember when the sun rises, the antidote to blue light is red light.
Yeah.
What's the most dominant part of red light, invisible light? 43% is infrared A. So the main difference between, say, modern artificial light is that it has no red light in it. This is the reason why I'm such a big detractor of people in the WHO and the World Economic Forum, because they have sold everybody in Europe and everywhere else in the rest of the world that incandescent bulbs are no good. Realize that incandescent bulbs had red light in them, also had purple light in them to offset the blue. But LEDs, they took all the red and all the purple out to try to save electricity, which is the stupidest thing ever. Why? Because you save pennies, but it makes you sicker. Okay? The light makes you sicker. So you absolutely have to protect your eyes to other blue light sources. I just fixed the computer issue for you. So technically, I'm telling both of you, you guys get this tablet.
Yeah.
You can start reading my blogs at night without glasses on. Just make sure the LEDs up above you are not blue. Okay? At all.
Yeah.
Because then you need the glasses back on to protect your eyes from that. Or if you go out boom, boom looking for women, you're going to need the glasses. Okay? Protect yourself from boom, boom. Okay? That's really the key. that you need to understand, because why? When we go out into our environments, we don't control all the levels of light. You can only control what you can control in your own environment. But with the sun, the antidote is always present. Always have infrared A light, and that is why blue light from the sun is not toxic.
I have one question. Can we get overexposed to red light? I mean, let's say that in a perfect world where everything was like your place. Okay, you can tell.
You can, because technically light at night is a problem. Just remember how we evolved. Never forget the story of nature we talked about in the first podcast. I told you that artificial light screwed up the Neanderthals when they were inside in the caves, and then they started writing cave paintings down. That's how they got destruction of melanin and created dopamine. People think that this was progress. It wasn't. It was cognitive de-evolution. Why? Neanderthals had bigger eyes and 125 more grams of brain tissue. This is the reason why they had the big head and the big brow. They lost that. So it turns out even fire at night is a problem. It means light at night's a problem. Remember, red light is still a stressor at night. But the reason we don't talk about it that much on podcasts is because you guys want to know on a relative basis, is red light at night a better choice than the modern lighting we have? The answer is yes. But your question was very different to me. You said, Jack, can red light also be a problem? The answer is yes, because it generates a cortisol stress response. And that can actually lower melatonin production in your mitochondria.
Yeah.
So the accurate answer to your question is yes, it can be a problem.
Yeah.
We want darkness at night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then what about the infrared light therapy? What is your take on that? Can we benefit from doing that?
I like it, but obviously it should be done during the hours the sun is out. And if the sun isn't out where you are, then just go outside. Remember, I told you guys last time we talked that even when it's cloudy out, you're still getting infrared light through there. You don't think you are, but you are. But I told you guys as Vikings, you need to get outside in your underwear, when it's snowing out, and everybody looks at me. And I told you the story of Max Getzler, who lives close to you guys. He's in Germany. I got him to ski the Bavarian Alps in his underwear to come down because he technically gets red light when he does that. And the answer always for every human is natural light, no matter what, is always better. Never make that mistake. Like, the problem is when I do podcasts like this, people always want to know, okay, well, how do I biohack my way around this? How can I have my cake and eat it too? And I understand that why people want to do that, but it's a really bad idea.
Yeah.
So what you basically say is that it's useless for us to use an infrared panel when we can just go outside.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's useless. I think it has a role. Like, remember, you guys are talking about people that are healthy.
Yeah.
Most of the people that I deal with are train wrecks. They come to see me because they've got disease, and then the centralized doctors can't do anything to fix the disease. Those people, a lot of time, they would benefit from sunlight because they never go outside. Like I made a joke when I was in Norway in July, and I saw people wearing down jackets because it was like 45 or 50 degrees. And here I am. I was walking around like I am right now. And everybody's looking at me, and I'm like, this is the reason why you have problems in this part of the world. Because even when it's cloudy and it's July, you still don't have your solar panel exposed. And you need to.
Yeah.
You need to really do that.
Yeah. I mean, it does require something.
We'll take a quick break to acknowledge one of our sponsors, Functional Self. Functional Self isn't just another health store, it's a lifestyle. I've been taking many of their supplements for years now, including the MagTech Magnesium, which contains 3 of the most essential magnesium types there is, and this makes me sleep like a rock. To the Rosita cod liver oil, the king of fish oils, which is a rare, unprocessed fish oil naturally high in vitamin D and A. And this is actually one of my favorite products. I've been using it for many years now, and I'm even giving it to my 2-year-old daughter. Functional Self offer a carefully curated range of biohacking tools, supplements, and functional foods that are scientifically proven to restore optimal health. So if you're serious about taking your health to the next level, check out the full range at functionalself.com and save 10% off your first order by using the code HOLISTIC10.
After we talked last time, I basically did that. I was working out. I quit my gym membership the next day, and then I just started working out outside. I got all the stuff, and I was always doing it barefoot. But now it's cold. Like, I cannot be outside and barefoot for more than like 2 minutes before my feet are numb.
Well, I would tell you in that case, what I want you to do is get some workout shoes that have leather soles. Okay. You can wear the shoes, but if you wear leather soles, you can still ground through that. And here's the cool part. When it's snowing out and there's snow on the ground, the benefit to you is you make a bigger connection. Because remember, that's the reason why mammals, or I should say humans specifically, have sweat glands in their feet. Because you want that wet connection to do grounding. So just go out and get yourself a really nice pair. There's one good thing about Europe. You guys still have access to leather sole shoes. You can also go to the cobbler and make them. So what you do is just go out and get yourself maybe a pair of soccer shoes, cut the bottoms off, and say, make it like a moccasin.
Yeah.
Sew me on animal skin, and that's what you work out in. And if you have to wear socks, you go get like those little cotton socks. Don't buy stuff with polyester.
Yeah.
But the cotton socks, because the cotton also is a product that allows grounding, and then you can go out and work outside you know, for 30, 40, 50 minutes and get your workout in while you're grounding. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I did that, and I actually started liking it a lot. I always do it intuitively. I do it when I listen to you, but it just felt good, to do it outside. And I've come kind of a little bit sad that it's so cold that I haven't been able to do it outside barefoot. But I'll try to do that then with leather shoes. That's a good one.
In terms of the UV light, if we can end this light thing, I saw the other day that you were importing a tanning bed. Is that a UV bed?
No. It's a photobiomodulation bed that I use for people with mitochondrial disease. It has a special motherboard in it where I'm able to control the frequencies in the infrared spectrum to help patients get better. I don't need to have a UV bed here. You guys can figure out why. Take a look behind my head.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like yesterday, I had a bunch of people that were here from the government sitting, in a circle outside, several of the guys here, and you guys can see behind me. Technically, you see this right here. That's my roof, but we're outside. So I have a house here that's outside, inside. You can't have that house where you guys live because of what you said. You'd be freeze your ass.
Yeah.
But we don't have that here. And see, that's like one of those intuitive basis where you say, okay, why 13th latitude versus 60th latitude? Now you're seeing it in this video.
Yeah, for sure.
And the key is, I just want you to embrace the cold because that's what the polar bear, that's what the Weddell seal,
definitely.
That's what, the fish that you guys have do up there. You have that program built into you. I have that program built into me too. I mean, I love the cold.
Yeah.
I have zero problems with it. I'm built for it. But as I told you, as you get older, you need more light. So that means where you guys live, that means you have to create more light. So that means you need more CT. The answer, you see, is easier for me just to spend some of my Bitcoin and buy a beautiful house like this here and then stay here. That's kind of, the trade-off that I made because I'm much older than you guys. You guys are better looking than me. You don't have gray hair.
You got a good beard.
Well, yeah. But, what I'm saying is you're young men, so you don't need, the stimulus that I need. Why? Because my colony of mitochondria have higher heteroplazmic rate because I've aged through that NAD cycling program. Remember, as we age every 10 years, the NAD is 10% less efficient. That's the work of Dr. Doug Wallace. That's what natural aging is. So I told you artificial aging is when you put that Apple thing in your ear and zap yourself all the time, you're making your brain older by the minute.
Yeah.
And people don't realize it because they're making their brain hypoxic.
So there's no way that we can isolate UV light and use it as benefits to our body. We need to have it in the full spectrum.
I think you can.
Yeah?
I think you can. I think you can use tanning beds. But remember what happened in Europe. They changed all the laws not that long ago where you can only have UVA. You can't get UVB. The only way for you guys to get UVB now is through the pet store when you have a reptile light.
Yeah.
So you can use that. But remember, you have to be careful with that because you guys are inside. Those lights get really hot. They fall down. They burn your house down. Okay?
Yeah.
Really, really hot. And you can't import, like the tanning beds that are present here in the United States, they're much more highly powered than tanning beds that you can buy because of EU regulations. Now, if you were to tell me, hey, Jack, I'm going to buy a UVA bed in Europe, would I tell you no? No, I would tell you absolutely. Go for it. You know, I don't, it's still a benefit. Why? Because that light controls the mTOR switch in your body. That's how you go from anabolic to catabolic. So remember in the beginning of this podcast, I told you guys, I used the term, all the computers that you grew up with are catabolic computers. They destroy your brain. Well, it turns out, what's the switch that runs anabolism versus catabolism? It's actually 380 nanometer light, which is what the spectrum for mTOR is. That's the reason why guys like David Sabatini, who found mTOR, they haven't won a Nobel Prize yet. It's because they haven't figured out that how light controls that protein to work. And everybody knows that mTOR is important for biochemistry, but they haven't figured out what's the switch for anabolic programs versus catabolic ones. And guess what Uncle Jack did? He figured it out. And that's the reason why UVA light's really important. In fact, the second generation of the computer that these guys made, I want to call it mTOR. Why? Because it's going to have that healing frequency in it. So technically, the next daylight computer, hopefully, will be a tanning bed for you two Vikings to use. So when you see it, you'll go, wow, you're getting healing frequencies, plus Jack's blocked all the blue light, and we are getting infrared A light. The infrared A light's already present in this computer already. So when you see it at night, you'll see the amber hue, and you're like, bro, this is next computer that is paying attention to my biology. Now I understand why Jack says it's not going to shrink my brain and turn me into Klaus Schwab.
Hey, wait, it'll be able to kind of automatically simulate because we've been talking about that. What if you made, kind of like you're making the computer, a lamp or a computer that automatically imitates the sun?
Everything, just, everything that we make, in my opinion, should be done like that. So you remember, I think the last time we talked about F-Lux, we talked about the other program. I'm blanking on the name now, but it blocks blue light and flicker. Every single device we plug into the electric power grid should have that availability built into it. But there's a reason it's not, because remember, all the corporations know if they have blue light emitted, it makes you addicted to their products. They got that idea from the mafia in the United States. That's why they build the casinos that way. They block out all the light. They put blue light, one-armed bandits, and then they feed you alcohol to lower your dopamine, and you get addicted to it. That's how it works. That's how everything works in technology. They are trying to addict you to the products so that your screen time goes up. So when you realize what I'm saying is we're trying to allow you to use technology that doesn't addict you, that doesn't take control of your brain so that you can use it wisely. That's really what the goal is. So anything we can do to help in that endeavor is a good thing. Absolutely a good thing.
So a big part of the addiction that kids and people have nowadays to social media, for instance, is actually the blue light itself. It's not the content.
Yeah, it's the number one thing.
Wow.
See, you believe it's the content.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, I've been telling people for 15 years, it's the blue light. This is the reason why Meta and Google own the blue light patents. Have you ever sat back to yourself in Europe and go, why is it no matter where you buy a computer in the world, whether it's Europe, United States, everything is blue lit?
Yeah.
Now you know why. Now you know why.
But can you explain just quickly again what it is that does that, what makes that addictive?
It lowers your dopamine level. Anytime you lower the dopamine level in the brain, it actually addicts you. It's the frontal reward tracks. And how does the biophysics work? If you're not reading my Patreon blogs and all that, you missed the little details. Here's the detail. The leptin melanocortin pathway that goes from your eye into your brain makes 2 pit stops. You know what the 2 pit stops are? Suprachiasmatic nucleus that controls, your circadian
rhythm.
clock. What's the second one? Habenular nucleus. Guess what the habenular nucleus does? Goes to the frontal lobes of humans, controls mood and depression. Now you know why everybody's addicted, why they want to kill themselves, why you have SAD where you live, all of that.
Yeah.
It's the blue light, dude. And that's the whole reason why technology uses blue light, because these guys in tech know it. That's why this computer that's now hitting the world stage, dude, this is a game changer. Can you imagine why people in Google and Silicon Valley didn't want to give, Anjan money to make this computer? That's like, I'll give you an example. That's like going to the Colombian drug cartel and saying, hey, I figured out a way to make cocaine less addictive.
Yeah, that's not
going
gonna
to sell well to the cocaine distributors.
It's not gonna sell more products. Wow.
Right, but guess what? Anjan found yesterday when he met the Bukele administration, a decidedly different group of people. They were like, yeah, we like this idea. We like the fact that you don't want to addict us to the computer, so that we can use technology and we can use it longer than we probably should without it hurting.
That's great. What would the retail price be of something like that? Of like an iPad?
Probably less than a consult with Dr. Cruse. How do you like that?
Okay, yeah.
And do I think that price is going to continue to come down? Just like anything else in technology, will go through deflation?
Yeah.
The answer is yes. But will it be comparable to what you get in an Apple iPad? Absolutely. We're not going to make it so that it's way more expensive. What we're trying to do, my friend, we're trying to get all you people to take your iPads and turn it in. Like, give it to people who you don't like. Like, if they own Ethereum, give the iPads to Ethereum. Let them die. Let their brains shrink. Let them go. We don't give a shit about them because they're centralized. We will only want decentralized thinkers. And that's exactly what evolution does. Evolution doesn't give everybody a trophy, my friend. That's why there's no T-Rexes still around, and you're here as the result of that decision by my nature. And, I know you and we talked about this last time. The European mindset is really different than the American mindset, but the American mindset really is an evolutionary standpoint. You have to burn bridges. That's what nature does. Like, the great white shark doesn't care about the opinion of the baby seal. The lion doesn't care about the opinion of the antelope, okay? I don't understand why people in Europe care about the opinion of the people in their governments and why they care about the people in the World Economic Forum. And why do they do the things they're doing? Because they're ruining their country.
For sure.
You have to realize Bukele down here put all the bad hombres in jail. And guess what? All the people in Europe said, oh, he's a tyrant. What kind of is that?
Yeah.
Now you have criminals running around Paris and Poland and Germany and raping and pillaging. And people in Europe are like, oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
That's not okay, my friend. It is. And that's not what evolution is about.
Yeah.
Decentralization is about thermodynamic fitness. I told you guys last time, Darwin gave us the idea that it's survival of the fittest. I told you that that's no longer true. It's survival of the wisest. Right now, in your country and my country, we have some of the dumbest people in the world around, and they're trying to bring it so that it's normal. It's not normal to be dumb. It's not normal to be not wise. We have to stop making poor decisions.
Yeah.
Otherwise, our society, our civilization, our way of life goes away.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I almost want to say survival of the people that's not addicted to stuff. I feel like everyone is addicted to stuff. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's drugs or social media or something like that. It's like people put themselves in a hole. And I also get
I'm gonna tell you that Light is a drug, my friend.
Yeah. Now I get it. Yeah.
Tina Carew from Russia wrote a paper on that, I think 7 years ago. That's actually the topic of the paper. It says, is light a drug equivalent? At the end of the paper, she makes the case. It is. And I agree with her 100%.
What was that paper called?
Is light a drug equivalent? Tina Carew, Tiina Carew, Kuru. She's probably the world expert, especially from Europe, in photobiomodulation. She's a red light rock star.
Okay.
The reason why a lot of Europeans don't know about it because she's Russian. Oh,
yeah,
you don't like the Russians.
Back to politics and yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I actually want to ask you about something I didn't plan to ask you, but I was thinking about it now because I am a biomechanics specialist. So I work with human movement and the human body and how it's supposed to function from a movement perspective. What is your take on that, on movement, on the importance of movement, and maybe more importantly, on the way that we move today in a gym?
Yeah, I would tell you that I can give you my answer very quickly. One of my really good friends, who is likely going to come to El Salvador when we have our Health Summit Day, his name is Erwin LaCour. He runs a company in the United States called MoveNat, MoVNAT. Erwin is actually European, believe it or not. He's from France.
Mm-hmm.
He started business a long time ago. He's almost my age, but he used to be a parkour guy. And now he's taken that to natural movement in the environment. Erwin has videos all over the place that you'll see. The way he moves, he's a jungle cat.
Mm.
He's amazing. And I'm a big fan of the way he works. He refuses to do the things that happen in a gym. Everything for him has to be natural movement. And he shows, when you see his people that have gone through his training and certification, that he'll take some of the strongest people that go in gyms and lift weights and then ask them to do basic movements that he has his people do, and they can't do it.
Oh, they can't.
And it drives them crazy that they can't. And Erwin says, look at me. I'm 56 years old. I don't have big muscles like you, but I can do this. And then he does it. And they try to do it, and they fall off the log and break their leg.
Yeah.
It's just amazing to see. But what I think Erwin is tapped into is that our musculoskeletal system is designed for a specific environment for us to move across it. And unfortunately, today's movement is just like today's light. It's artificial. It's fake. And
there you go.
You have to realize, for me, in my opinion, your human cortex movement is the efferent loop to what's going on in your redox potential. So if the redox potential is bad in the brain, the movement I don't expect to be good. But if you do it and you're in a nature's environment, then I think the movement is going to be fluid. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be very efficient. It's not going to cause you excess energy. And that's how nature is built. Afferent and efferent loops. This is the whole idea in decentralization. Light and dark. There's no one central controller. Everything has both. And I believe that movement is incredibly important for a healthy neocortex because it's the efferent loop of the afferent loop. And that afferent loop is light through the eye, light to the skin.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I see it. I see humans evolve to walk, evolve to run, evolve to hunt. So when I discuss with people, I used to say that a snowball fight or gardening is more healthy than going to the gym and lift weights, because it's not the way humans are designed to move, lift heavy things in an artificial pattern, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that's, the philosophy of Erwin LaCour. I just tell you, when he and I were doing work in the paleo community 15 years ago, a lot of people made fun of a lot of the stuff that I said. Not so much he said, but there was a couple of things that he said that was pretty controversial to them. And, he's now become a really big proponent of breathing. And his breathing method is incredible. Why? Because think about what we started this podcast with. We talked about hypoxia.
Yeah.
Erwin knows hypoxia is a stimulus for both non-native EMF, but also for movement. So if you don't breathe properly, can the movements be as fluid? No, because what do they functionally cause? they cause hypoxia. Can you move well when you're hypoxic? The answer is no. So that's the link between these ideas. And I think now we're 15 years later, people look at us as the graybeards, because most people don't like to listen to boomers. We have wisdom. We have wisdom to pass on to you young bucks so that you become, this is ultimately your world. We want you to kick ass and take names. We want you to take this information and get it out there because we feel like, we're the Library of Alexandria and we don't want this information to burn down so that we go back into the dark ages. So the people, that are the elites that are in power continue to addict us through technology and continue to enslave us through really poor thinking and bad ideas. And, that's the reason why I enjoy doing the first podcast with you. I enjoy doing this one with you because I think your audience are people that, are not going to be tied into my work as much as people probably hear. And now that I'm doing some of the things that I'm doing on the world stage, maybe it's going to start to resonate. Like when you hear about the law that I wrote for El Salvador, when that goes live on Fox News and CNN and all that, you're going to say, holy shit, this story is now beginning to resonate everywhere else. And ultimately what I want to see you guys do the same thing in your country. Say, you know what? We're sick and tired of this bullshit. It's time for us to change the world the way we see fit, not the way guys that are 80 and 90 years old who are dribbling, who wear diapers, who want to keep stealing money, want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it needs to end.
Yeah, for sure.
That's why we started this podcast in the first place. Was to bring out decentralized information, if you can say it like that, and to bring in people like you to tell the truth from another perspective. We've also been talking to people who are so politically correct.
Yeah, it's the worst.
It's the worst.
Yeah, but you shouldn't talk to them. Remember what I told you? This is going to sound so crazy to you. I know this. Certain people can't be helped. Just remember the lesson of nature. They want to build this world. I have a saying, stop giving your 100% for people that give you 10%. If they really, truly believe that this communist mindset, that centralization is the way to go, then, you say to them, great, you do it. Go hire my competitor right there. But I'm going to train everybody else. I'm going to train the people that have an open idea. Since we did the last podcast, we just had something pretty monumental happening in the world, with the politically correct people. We had 60 years of communism in Argentina end, and we have this guy down there who's totally about decentralization down there. And he says, okay, we're going to try something different now. We've already tried it your way for 60 years. Now we're going to try something different. And that's kind of what you guys are doing with your podcast in Europe. But I don't want you to get sidetracked by trying to cater to the poorest thinkers that are in your market. You don't need everybody to be successful. You need the right animals on your ark, okay? Don't forget that. That's the decentralized way to think. Don't be like America. Don't be like Walmart or Amazon, where you sell everything to everybody. You sell your ideas to mammals that want to be savages.
True.
Yeah, true. That's a good
point.
message. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, let's talk about diet, Jack. We didn't cover diet last time, and here is a vegetarian, and here is a more carnivore-ish guy, and we have some healthy discussions. I respect Jacob, and Jacob respects me. But what is your perspective on the overall best diet, if you can say it like that?
Well, if you're a human and you have this in your head, like I would tell Jacob, don't stop eating like a rabbit. That's a big problem. And the person that I would say that for him to study is Michael Crawford. He's a guy in the UK that's written books on the brain evolution. You have to realize when you understand that energy is a thermodynamic game, you're only as strong as your weakest link. Realize that this here requires huge amounts of DHA. You can only get DHA through the marine and animal chain. You can't get it through vegan support. Like many things in the vegan community or the vegetarian community, believe that you can get it from algal forms. Algal forms come in SN1 and SN3. It doesn't get into the brain. And not only that, it's way more expensive when you do that. So are there ways that you need to hack this? Like, I think you can be a vegetarian really successfully, but you have to live in a strong solar environment, kind of like the Indians used to do for 5,000 years. But if you live where you guys live and you're a vegetarian, dude, you're always, it's like you're a salmon swimming upstream all the time. And the real issue is the key photoreceptors in your brain, DHA, B12, all that, they're not plentiful in the chain of food that you're eating. So you're always fighting an uphill battle. And ultimately, I just told you both that it's survival of the wisest. I want you to be really, really smart. So obviously, I think you have to provide the brain substrates to make yourself really smart.
So would that be,
because if you don't,
seafood and fish and stuff, if I had to supplement?
Yeah, well, that's the biggest one. I would tell you where you live, you happen to live in a great place that has high DHA foods. So like the number one thing for you where you live is probably like mackerel and sardines. Why? Because they're oily fish, they're cold water fish. They have the highest amounts of DHA on the planet. Now, if you were going to eat meat, say like you said to me, Jack, I don't want to eat cow. I don't want to do, I'm like, I'm okay with that. I want you to eat lamb. Lamb has more DHA than any other red meat on the planet. So I would tell you, lamb, seafood. If you want to start first, what's the number one nut that you could eat that has DHA in it? Now, it's going to be hard for you guys to get because most of them grow in Hawaii. Macadamia nuts.
We have that in the store.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would tell you macadamia nuts are phenomenal, but they're expensive as
But wouldn't that be, that wouldn't be native to our environment, right?
No, of course not. But remember, is being a vegetarian native to your environment either? No, you're a carnivore, dude.
Yes.
Just think about what you just said to me. That's what I'm telling you about how the vegetarian brain doesn't work. They don't realize, I'm okay if you do it for, like, say you want to do it for ethical reasons, but I want to tell you a story specifically so you understand this. For 5,000 years, the Indians now live in south of the country, because the north of the country, they eat meat. South of the country doesn't. They did fine. You know that the number one source of type 2 diabetics, type 1 diabetics now is in India? Do you know why? Because Google and Facebook put their server farms and their call centers in Bangalore. Okay, so now they're in the middle of all this. So for the last 30 years, we've put technology into the place where the vegetarians have lived. Now they're falling apart at record rates. That's the reason why. It doesn't mean that you can't eat a vegetarian template, but to eat a vegetarian template, they are the best example on planet Earth to do that. But remember, they live at the 20th latitude. Dude, you don't live anywhere close to that.
Yeah. That makes sense.
You see what I'm saying?
Kind of, yeah.
And that's what I want you to understand. So from that standpoint, if you didn't have the heart you have and the brain you have, and you didn't have the mitochondrial capacity buried there, then I'd be okay with it. For example, that's the reason why gorillas, they can be vegetarian. Remember, where do they bury their, right here? They put it in their muscles. But they don't put their mitochondria in their brain. They're dumb. They don't put it in their heart. What's the other thing? That's why chimps and gorillas don't live as long as us. We live longest in the primate tree. You are designed to fuel your brain with a diet that has DHA. And like I said, the book and the papers that you need to read is on human brain evolution. Sir Michael Crawford has written probably the best ones. There's another guy named Dr. Stephen Kuhn. You need to, I think when you read this from an evolutionary standpoint, you don't have to have discussions with anybody.
Okay.
Once you get it and you understand the physics, like this should not be ideological discussion between you and your buddy.
Yeah.
Because it's not ideology. From an evolutionary basis, humans are built to be omnivorous. That means they eat everything.
Yeah.
But are you supposed to eat things that are made in your environment? And like where you guys live, the only thing that's around to eat before we had any of this modern stuff was animals.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
So wintertime, like the argument now I give to your buddy, since I already pounded on you about being a vegetarian, his problem is that he eats a carnivore diet. That's a wintertime diet. Now, I get on Sean Baker's case, who's the orthopedic surgeon here in the United States, for doing that. But guess what? This guy lives in the wintertime 8 months out of the year. So carnivore for him, I have zero problems with. Totally zero problems with, because he's always in the cold, but I need him embracing the cold and out there.
So what you say?
But when Sean Baker is in Texas or wherever the hell he lives, no, doing carnivore while the sun is out doesn't make all the sense in the world, because it's a mismatched diet. It's a winter diet.
So what you say is that there's a geographical adaptation that allows us, or that requires us to eat more animal-based the farther we get from equator, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm. Remember, things can't grow photosynthetically there. That's functionally why
the
that answer
makes sense.
is being a vegetarian at high latitudes makes no sense.
Yeah.
Now, do I think you can do it at low latitudes? The answer is yes.
Interesting. I'll definitely read those books that you recommended. And yeah, so the reason I do it is not because of ideology or anything. The reason I did it, maybe that's because I lived in a different latitude. I used to live in South China, where it was way hotter. And I basically just tried it, being a vegetarian. And after a month or two, I felt so much more energy. I felt so much more positive. I slept better. I had more energy. And that's basically why I started. I could feel the difference. I started feeling more light on my feet. After a while, I had less injuries as well when I was working out. So to me, that's why I did it. And I guess...
But think about what you just said. You just said you lived in a better light environment.
Yeah,
that
I
makes
guess
sense.
that's true.
Could be.
And technically, this is the other big issue, is when you eat a vegetarian diet at high latitude, what are you functionally doing? You're starving yourself, okay? So that actually turns on the mTOR switch, okay? When you do that, then you create other problems, because remember, that switch goes from anabolic to catabolic. So you're constantly in the catabolic mode. So what are you functionally doing right now? You're trying to calorie restrict at a high latitude. Will you have the power, the brain power, the muscle power, the ability to do the same things you did in China? The answer is no, you will not, because you're underpowering your system, but your system has feedback loops and mechanisms in it to deal with that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I got to look into that.
What about, speaking of starvation, what about fasting? What's your take on that?
I like it. I think that's the reason just about every religion in the world has fasting in it. 1 day, 2 days. I don't care how long you do it, but what does that do? It optimizes autophagy. Autophagy is how we turn our mitochondrial colonies into savages. What's the other way? Apoptosis. Why did computer? Why do I tell people to get in the sun? Because apoptosis is controlled by purple light, and no blue light, and autophagy is predominantly a red light story. But what does autophagy and apoptosis do? They make the colony of mitochondria everywhere in your body thermodynamically more efficient. So you become more like a Ferrari and less like a Nissan Sentra blowing black smoke.
If you fast once in a while. Good. That's good to know.
Interesting. Okay, moving on to water. We talked a lot about water last time.
Yeah, I have one last question, because the macadamia thing, and I was very interested about that I heard you say it in another podcast, that when you eat something that's out of your environment, it will confuse. So for instance, it would be bad to eat macadamia here, right? I have to go to Hawaii to eat macadamia.
The best choice for you, red meat wise, would be lamb. Probably the best choice for you is actually the oily fish that swim in the cold North Sea by you guys.
Yeah. But that's essentially also happens in the mitochondria, the confusion, right? And
yes, remember what confusion is. We talked about it last time. That's called chaos. Chaos is an acronym for what? Inflammation.
Yeah. Which is the root of all chronic diseases that we have now.
Well, not only that, but what does it go down to? Now I'm bringing you to my level. That's the proton problem, positive charge. What did I tell you about health? Negative charge. Oh, look at that. We're back to electrons and protons again.
Yeah.
The place that you guys don't want to come visit, that I always want to bring you to.
All right. Okay. Water.
Water?
Do you have more on the diet part?
Nope.
Okay, let's close that one. Water. So the best water solutions are water at high latitudes, particularly spring water if we can find that, but because we want deuterium depleted water, right? But it's not always possible. So for me, for example, you also have a filtration option. I do the reverse osmosis because that's my view of the best possibility that I can get. My biggest concern is fluoride. Fluoride has zero to do in the human body, in the human gut, and in the human brain where it can access when you drink it, basically. So what can we do when we don't have these options that are optimal?
Then you have to import your water. You have to pay more money for it. That's probably the best option. I would tell you where you guys live, though. I guarantee you need to know a little bit something about water. The first water that melts from snow is deuterium depleted. The deuterium stays in the rest of the snow. So you still need to go find a spring somewhere in Europe. Go get a big bottle and go fill that up. So when things start to thaw, the first water that comes out is deuterium depleted. All the deuterium stays in the snow. The snow that's on the mountain the last is like a fruit. It's filled huge with deuterium. That's the water you don't want. So the closer you guys get to, like, I don't know, April, May, June, that's the water from the spring you don't want. Then I want you to import it. But when it first starts to melt, that's the water you want at high latitude.
See, I noticed the other day, and this is just an observation. I don't know if this has anything to it, but snow kind of emits light. And I remember, we have a picture here of our house from inside. In the middle of the night, you're not supposed to see anything, but because there's snow, it's all lit up. But I remember you said that energy travels faster in deuterium depleted water. So that got me to thinking, what about snow? And now you just said it. Snow is deuterium depleted. So that will...
No, not snow. Snow is not deuterium depleted. Snow is a deuterium bomb.
Okay.
It's the first water that melts that is deuterium depleted.
So it's melted snow, which is deuterium depleted.
Right. That water is those, and it should make sense to you. I'm saying it to you guys. Why do I, especially I want the vegetarian to get it? Doesn't it make sense that the first water that you're going to make plants from would be deuterium depleted? Why? Because then when the sun comes back, you can make more food from sunlight. That's the reason it happens.
Okay.
The last water to melt is loaded with high atomic mass deuterium, which photosynthesis doesn't like.
Okay.
Okay.
What is your take on the whole fluoride thing? Why on earth?
But my take is simple. Go watch my fluoride podcast. It's one of the best ones I've ever done.
Yeah?
It's only an hour long. Oh, dude, it's awesome.
Okay.
You kidding me? I did it when I was in Vermont in 2017. You got to remember, I used to be a dentist. I hate fluoride.
Yeah.
And what is the story with fluoride? It goes back to what I told you a long time ago. Fluoride is the most electronegative atom on the periodic table. So what does that do? It has 7 electrons in it. It's a halogen. It means it steals. It's a small atom, so it steals electrons. What's the terminal electron acceptor? Oxygen. Oxygen is the best electronegative atom that doesn't act and hold on to electrons. We need electrons to move around in us to deliver the light to tissues. Anything that's more electronegative than oxygen is no bueno at all. We don't want any of it. That means bromide, chloride, fluoride. None of it's good if you want to know the truth. And that story is also a story in nature. Nature is telling you the story. The best terminal electron acceptor in the world is oxygen. Oxygen is in group 6 on the periodic table. It has 6 electrons. When you go to the 7th electron, that's not good. The only atom that has 7 electrons that's good is iodine. Why? Iodine's atomic mass is so good that even though it's a halogen, it can't hold electrons as good as bromide, chloride, and fluoride. So it turns out you need electrons to go. Why? Because of that funny guy that it was from Bern, Switzerland, that everybody talks about. Okay, photoelectric effect guy. Okay, you need to power your electrons with light to move it around because you are beings of light. Anything that keeps your electrons and doesn't share them is a toxin. That's the fundamental reason that fluoride is a toxin.
And I guess it's a stupid question, but I have to ask you either way. Why on earth do they insert it into the global water supply?
Well, that should be obvious to you based on what I already told you. It's the same reason why the mafia made the casino the way they did, because if they can stop electron flow in you, they can control you. So, the story in Europe, people don't like to hear this story in Europe. I.B. Farben found that when they gave Jews stannous fluoride or sodium fluoride, made them more docile before they gassed them.
Yeah.
Think about this. Think about what I just said.
Yeah, I knew that.
You become easier to control. So that idea, where did they get all that? It came from a guy named Edward Bernays in the United States who wrote a book called Propaganda. And it turned out Goebbels looked at propaganda and said, okay, how do I take this idea in the book and use it in the Third Reich?
Yeah.
This was one of the ideas that the Third Reich came up with. They said, let's put fluoride in things. And you have to realize one of the things the Germans are really good at is engineering, especially chemical engineering. Remember in the First World War, they made nitrogen mustard gas, to try to kill the other side. All these ideas came from all of those people. And when Rockefeller saw this idea in the United States, he said, okay, how do I take all the fluoride that I make in all my chemical factories and actually, instead of throwing it out and make no money on it, convince somebody in the United States to put it somewhere so that I can sell it to them. And that's exactly how we got the idea of fluoridation. They used the ideas in and around Europe that came from Dr. Snow in UK. If you remember the cholera outbreak in the UK in the 1850s, the guy figured out it came from a specific fire hydrant in Broad Street. How did he solve the problem? He chlorinated the water supply, and it got rid of the cholera. So what did Rockefeller do? Said, okay, chlorine and fluorine are kind of the same thing. We want to put fluoride in there. This is how they sold the idea back in the early 20th century to stupid American politicians. And then, of course, once the stupid American politicians passed the law because Americans are stupid and they voted for it, stupid Europeans said, we want to be like America. And then you guys started doing the same. Dude, this is how survival of the wisest works. You guys are two Vikings that I need to understand this story so that you can see, Jesus, if you believe the right off the bat, you are doomed to make really bad decisions down the road because you don't realize the collateral mistake keeps magnifying. So this is the reason why in Big Pharma today, almost every drug they make is fluoridated. Even anesthetics that we put people asleep with are fluoridated. Guess why? Now you know the reason why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Has it to do with the idea that it impairs the function of our pineal glands?
I think that's that you hear from the functional medicine guys. They tell you, that your pineal gland gets calcified from fluoride. That's partially true, but it's not the truth. The number one thing that calcifies your pineal gland? Hypoxia.
Uh-huh.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the real truth. Anything that causes hypoxia can cause it. So fluoride can cause it, non-native BMF, bad light, bad drugs, bad food, bad ideas, bad women, bad guys. Dude, anything that affects, that metric in your mitochondria, everything always comes back to mitochondrial function. People don't want to believe it. They don't want to hear it, but it's the truth. Mm-hmm. We are electromagnetic beings at the source.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You saw the falcon just fly right past my head?
Yeah, that was cool.
We have seagulls here.
We don't have that.
No.
Yeah. Well, we have birds of prey here. They're always out. They usually are flying the thermals on the volcanoes behind me.
That's cool.
It's crazy.
I'd love to see that.
We have to visit you one day, Jack.
Just come.
Yeah.
Oh, I would love that.
There's no reason why not. The only thing is, make sure he eats some lamb before he gets on the plane.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that. I have one question before we or just your take on something. I don't know if it's. We were talking to 100-year-old person a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and she has never done any dieting. She's never done anything, but she has a super cool and very wise, very smart. But how big of a factor does mental health or your attitude towards life have on your mitochondria and your cells and all these things that you talk about? Because that was the thing that she was talking about.
I think it's huge, but goes back to the original story that I tried to tell you, is that only gets tapped when you have enough DHA in your system. Remember, this organ here has more DHA than anything else in it. And your ability to think, like the studies have already been done, especially this guy, Michael Crawford. When the human brain is constructed the right way, this lady, what she told you is absolutely true. You know what the problem is? Other people whose brains aren't constructed that don't understand it. It functionally to them, it doesn't make any sense. Because the way you live your life, you think everybody is the same, and you're not. You have to realize that mitochondrial biology is an N=1 game. That lady is wise. What she did, eating a natural diet and staying away from the modern beliefs, just realize that the real problem with diets is the same problem that we just talked about a little while ago about Rockefeller and fluoride. But we've convinced people throughout the world to eat like Americans, and it's the stupidest thing ever. The greatest thing about Europe, as far as I'm concerned, is that you guys have done a way better job on the food side of things than we have in the States. And the leader at the clubhouse on that, in my opinion, is the French. The French are Nazis when it comes to their food. They're like, do not f with my food.
Yeah.
And that's why they have things called like the French paradox. There's no paradox. They do exactly what they're supposed to do, and they don't care what the rest of the world thinks, about their template. And I think the real funny part here in the United States is the idea set in the nutrition world and the workout world is that diet is like number 1 or number 2. And it turns out the truth is diet's like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
But what about...
And diet should be the easiest part. Why? Because it's set by the sun. Whatever grows in your environment, that's what you eat.
Yeah.
So when you really understand photosynthesis and mitochondrial biology, to me, food should be the easiest thing. And that's probably the reason why you guys know that I hate talking about food, because to me, teleologically, I don't understand people that don't understand my perspective. Why? Because just because you can buy a coconut, in Boston on December 31st doesn't mean you should eat it. To me, that's not like rocket science. If nature says it doesn't grow there, why the do you ever get the idea to eat it?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? But that's not actually how we actually think. And when you realize it, that's what that lady was telling you. And do I believe that she has more intuition than some of the other idiots that you'll have on the podcast? The answer is yes. But you know what? It's your guys' job to tease this out. That's why when you have the discussion, him being carnivore, you being vegetarian, realize that the question you just asked me about that lady is an extension of that discussion. And I want you to realize that, because until you realize that, you'll say, like, I could tell when I was talking to you today, you said, yeah, I just realized I became vegetarian because I was in strong light and I never put 2 and 2 together. Well, that's good. To me, you just have a wake-up call. So maybe what you decide to do is you do your own biohack now that you live in a totally different part of the world and say, okay, look, I'm going to change this and I'm going to do it for 2 or 3 months and see what happens. I bet we'll next time we do a podcast, you'll come on and say, Jack, I actually feel better now up here doing this than I did before. And I would have never realized it if I didn't ask this question.
Yeah.
And you think, to me, that's how we break the Rockefeller addiction to fluoride too. That's how we break the big pharma addiction to fluoride. Like when we tell people why these ideas functionally began, it's the same thing I'm trying to do in El Salvador now about like teaching people about decentralized medicine. And when I teach people about Bitcoin, like, remember the last time you guys and I talked, I think Bitcoin then was like $17,000.
Yeah.
Today it went up to $42,000.
Perfect. I got a little bit.
42,000. So guess what? Way up. And the point that I'm trying to make to you is you have to consistently bathe your brain in good ideas. If you bathe your brain and you live your life in good ideas, naturally, you're going to have more intuition. That's what that lady at 100 years old is. And I do agree with her that when you live that way, I functionally believe that life becomes easier to navigate. In other words, things that make it hard to you aren't hard to her.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the most beautiful things, about it. Like I said to one of the guys in the government here who I vehemently disagreed with, actually, when I talked to you guys last, I really told him off. He told me that, well, the people down here in El Salvador, their functional issue is they're not as healthy. I said, yeah, because they're eating American food and seed oils and everything else that we bring. I said, but do you see this guy's carrying 6 cases of beer on his back? I said, there's nobody in the United States that can do that. And I said, these people are walking around with things on their head and this and that. I'm like, people in America can't do that.
Yeah.
But you know why he can do it? Even though he's eating seed oils, he's at 13 north latitude.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point that I try to tell people. Like when I talk about seed oils, I'm like, yeah, I agree that seed oils are not a good thing. But guess what? Seed oils where you guys live and where I live, it's a totally different effect. Seed oils aren't as toxic at a low latitude as they are in a high latitude. High latitude seed oils are deadly. It's kind of like, drinking coconut water, where you guys are. It would not be the same maneuver.
Yep.
That's kind of how I look at seed oils. Eating coconuts and pineapples at your latitude right now in December is equivalent to eating, lamb that's fed, canola oil.
But isn't the answer to all our health issues really simple? To get back to nature, to go outside regardless of climate and weather, to get natural light, how much UV light there is. Eat what you can get from nature, what you can find outside. Ground yourself, be barefoot, from...
You need to stop talking like this because they're going to start saying that you're Jack Cruse. They're going to say you're a brother from another.
That's a compliment.
But just what you just said, you just described decentralized medicine. You just described what I teach everybody. And guess what? I've been trying to get that message, my friend, to people for 20 years.
Yeah.
And they tell me I'm crazy. And they don't realize that the whole world has been crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane.
But it's simple. It's simple knowledge. It's really just ancestral evidence, if we can say it like that. Don't deviate from nature. Then you will get sick.
Because that was
simple.
That was another thing that she did. The 100-year-old, she was growing her own food. And if you're growing your own food, you're eating what's in your environment, right? I mean...
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing. She's controlling the key thermodynamic variables. The one that she lives by, remember, is the sun. The sun controls the photosynthetic yield out of that environment, and she goes with that. And when her garden doesn't make enough, then she goes and catches a lamb. She goes and catches a goat. She goes and catches a cow. Whatever the hell you guys have there, that's it. That's all you do.
Simple. Simple.
Okay, before we end, I have to ask you one question that I wanted to ask you last time. I didn't do it. I wanted to ask you this time, so we have to do it. Your opinion on precursors to NAD+, things that can increase the NAD+ levels in our bodies, such as NMN, for example, which David Sinclair is famous for.
All the that were promulgated by Lenny Guarente, David Sinclair, these PhD guys that are making money. Just so you know, the people that you need to follow on Twitter, because you can find them, Charles Brenner and a guy named Josh Rabinowitz. They did studies on all the NAD supplements. Brenner has really come out hard against Sinclair. Sinclair is a master PhD scientist.
Yeah.
But he's a marketer, and he's convinced people. And I always tell people, marketing is legalized lying. And when you put a PhD behind your name, people tend to believe you. That's part of the reason why it exists. But Charles Brenner is also a PhD who's the opposite. So you need to read his work on that, and then you'll stop doing it. And then the big one, Josh Rabinowitz, was a classmate of Sinclair's, but he actually went on to get an MD. So he's got an MD, PhD. He wrote papers about the peptides and the precursors for NAD in Nature magazine, and basically said it's all a shell game. It's all. So ultimately, what you guys have to do as, decentralized Vikings, you got to read the data that you don't agree with. And because you know what I always tell people, it's the mark of an educated mind to take something you don't believe, examine it for yourself, and make a decision.
Yeah.
This is the reason why when you change your mind about something, I don't usually pound you in the ass for that. I'm like, that's what I want to see people do. I want to see people parse the data, because you know what? This is the reason why I always tell people that the truth is never axiomatic. The truth is an approximation of the data that we have now. As the data changes, the truth should change.
Yeah.
But do you see an importance of being able to increase our levels of NAD+? No?
Yeah, I do because of what David Sinclair wrote. Remember, how did he get the idea? He wrote a great paper in 2013. We know that aging is linked to it. But what did he do with that data? Instead of being great, he created a product so he could become a bigger millionaire. The best way for you to recycle NAD positive is be connected to nature.
Again.
Interesting.
As always, yeah.
Yeah, I remember he also had he was already super rich before. He had done other products and stuff before.
He stole $400 million from GlaxoSmithKline Beecham because of the resveratrol story. Now, I'm about anybody who can steal money from Big Pharma and get away with it. I love that. So you have to realize, to me, that's a baller move.
Mm-hmm.
But what did he do? Now he harms people with this NAD story. That's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
Because now he's not scamming Big Pharma. He's scamming you guys.
Yeah.
I'm all about Big Pharma scams. Take all their money.
Yeah.
But I don't want them to take your money because I need you to buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
When it drops again.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's not going to drop for the next 18 months, dude.
But
just remember, I'm telling you here.
You think?
Next from here.
Okay.
Yes, 1 year from now. Look, we did a podcast a couple of months ago. It was 17. Now it's 42. And you're telling me I'm a idiot? You guys.
And it was 60 or something.
I still haven't, yeah.
Well, that's okay. It's going back past 60 very soon.
Yeah.
Then you're not going to be an idiot anymore.
Yeah, true.
It's going to 200,000-300,000.
But I have
Watch.
Ethereum.
Yeah, well, but you're also vegetarian, so that explains everything.
Yeah, true. I gotta change that out. I gotta change my Ethereum to Bitcoin. Now that
And
it's
your
up.
diet.
And my diet. Yeah. Well, anyway.
There you go.
Okay, Jack.
All right, guys. It was good talking to you. Round 2.
Yeah, it was a
But
pleasure.
remember, I'm upset with both of you. You told me that we were going to be outside and you were going to be in your underwear.
Oh, true.
And we are going to do the podcast, and you screwed this up. So guess what? Next time we do a podcast, I need to see you in the Kaniki outside.
Okay,
That's
okay.
a deal.
100%.
Yeah, that's a deal.
All right?
Yeah.
Shouldn't be a problem.
All right.
All right,
sounds
Thank
good.
you, Jack. Thank you for an
Have a great
awesome
day.
conversation.
Yeah. Enjoy your
Bye-bye.
day, yeah?
Take care.
Bye, Jack.